there's no like starting getting like
Does someone want to give a little recap to Jack?
So we want to be able to answer this question in a way that a 5-year-old would be able to understand it. That means that you know what a haircut is.
Right, okay. So, if you're asked now, what would your answer be? So, let's just pretend I have no idea what you're talking about, and you just explain to me. So, imagine if I've never attended a class, it's very hard to imagine how you could even build a square on head shape. So, how would you describe that to me?
By using hair to alter your head shape.
Okay, but how do I imagine a square on a head?
Corners. Huh? Jack, answer. A box.
Nice! It's hard now to explain. You know, the whole reason why I asked this question is because this is what I asked myself as well after many years of, learning and teaching. I realized that I've never actually thought of the answer to that question. And if you think about that, the more you think about that, the more you realize that most of the things we're used to talking about are just merely labels that we use to recall knowledge as fast as possible. But then it's hard to understand what remains there after all the labels are gone, basically. So to ask that question means to actively try to understand what things are made of, rather than how we can describe what they look like. No one really needs more information, but they just need to make it clear in their brain, which is different than having to add information. If anything, you would need to remove some information. The answer to the question makes you realize that things are made of much simpler concept than the labels we use to describe them. First of all, a haircut is just made out of different length of hair. So it's not made of shapes, because shapes is the way that we describe what we can do with hair length, but in reality it's just about how the different length of hair is distributed in the head shape. After this, we start to talk about all the different relationship of length that we can have in a haircut. So you would know it's square because of the jump in the hairline, and also because of the extra length at the nape. Square layers is what we did yesterday, and with square layers as well, you see the jump in the outline from the sideburn area to the nape. So from there to there, there's this gap. So when you see that, it's square. And finally, round shapes. Same thing, so all cut in the same place, but following the head shape. So round line doesn't have to look in a very specific way, because you can go, lower, you can do a longer fringe. There are many versions that you can do. But in general, what you're looking at is something that's following the hairline. If you think about what we said until now, you're going to notice that really there are not many things that can happen in haircuts. So length can either get longer up, down, to the front or to the back. If you take the individual shapes and techniques and you combine them together, you end up with basically every pure result that you can have. Because if you mix 3 shapes and 3 techniques, you end up with these 9 haircuts that you can do, basically.
I'm also
Rock crabs.
Grinding rock crabs.
Aren't they?
Grinding rock crabs. Just like grinding all guru. not tug it in the conditioners come out of it, it's just going to get even tuggy out. If you want it that,
So whenever you want to create a very tight mapping section and you want to make sure it doesn't interfere with the rest of the haircut, what you do is you start combing all the hair and you want to imagine a center point of the section where the hair is all going to travel covering the same distance. So you want to avoid lifting too much because that's what you will create, or lifting too little because you would have the same problem. So to avoid that, you want to hold the hair to make sure that there's the same travel, and you're gonna comb with the fine side of your comb while keeping tension. So you're just going to keep the hair inside your hands. When you get good tension, you're gonna start to twist the hair. So from here, I can start creating my twist, which is going to make the hair look tighter, and I'm just gonna keep twisting, and that's going to stick to the head shape. And finally, when the hair reaches the end point, I'm just gonna use clips to secure the hair and make sure I have a tight finish.
back yourself, bro.
Self-confidence in that I don't have it.
I'm just gonna show you what we do and maybe the guideline, and then do the front and the whole thing. That's just up to you. I mean, the front is pretty quick to do. It's like 5 sections each side, but it's, you know, from the recession down, it's basically 1 section going up, so it's pretty fast to do as well. This is the fastest way to create like a cool mullet effect, you know, without having to change too many angles. It's just, you know, straight to the point. You choose a length and you bring everything to the same spot, and let the head shape do the work for you, basically. It's an effective way for the salon as well. I'm gonna explain to you why we did mapping section the way that we did. So, you know, from a profile section, as always, we took the highest point of the head, so it would be the apex, because it's exactly the point where, you know, the head starts to round again towards the back, and it's the point where you can really see the root taking 2 different directions, from wanting to fall down and back to wanting to fall to the side and to the front. So by doing that, we're able to understand, you know, what kind of length we want to fall forwards and what kind of length we want to fall backwards. Also, we went straight down to the sides. So in that way, as well, we find, you know, the hair that wants to fall backwards together, you know, with the one on top, and the hair that's going to especially be the highest point of the hairline. So when we finish this panel, we're gonna have, you know, the shortest piece here because it's the highest of the hairline, and everything else is it's falling longer. We're gonna have to fix and change the shape of the hairline at the end, but this is just, you know, part of the haircut. So we're gonna start from the front here, and I'm just gonna take a vertical section in the middle. So I take 1/2. You know, with this kind of length, there's no excuse to not work in the cleanest way possible, because, you know, the hair needs to be controlled. So from there, I'm just gonna aim for the hairline and just close my clip and keep that clean. Second side, same thing. So also, when you take the first section, make sure it's really in the middle, because it's not very easy to actually achieve that. So one way that you know, of course, if your mapping was good, is that you would have the center guideline in the middle between the 2 pieces of the section, and also when it drops down, it should fall right on top of the nose. So in that way. if you find that it's falling like there, it means it's moved to one side instead of the center. So I'm gonna keep going, just split in the center. So depending on how wide was the first section, you're either going to split it in half or just keep all of the section and add the next one. Since the hairline is dropping, you don't want to follow the hairline like that. So you want to keep it looking the same width, back and front. At the start, you're more focused on what to do with your hands and everything. But remember that since we're trying to achieve something that is very specific, if the head is off by this amount and you create something flat, guess how it looks when the head is straight. You really want to be aware that of head position at all times. So we're gonna start from the center, from the front length, which is going to be my reference point for all the rest. I wanna do it carefully. So see, every time if I'm able to work clean, I don't have anything that's disturbing my view as well, which is very important. So from here, we can choose pretty much the length that we want. So here I want to choose where this is falling in the front. So already I'm going to imagine that it's getting longer pretty quickly as well. I mean, all the outline is going to be much longer, so I can go very short here. Of course, the shorter I go, the more lift I get up here. So it depends on how you want it to look. But we could aim for since the center is the shortest, we could aim for here, below the eyes. Literally take my guide from where I want it to fall. A bit longer because you want to control it later. So if I want to fall here, I can maybe start from there and just make it shorter when I layer. I can now take a wider piece and start my process. So here we want to follow the head shape. So the way to do that is just by placing the comb flat to the head, and you want to go wherever the comb tells you to go. So even here, this amount of section, which would be very small, you could definitely cut all of that in one go. This already has two different points that you have to pull the hair to. Because if I go flat on the, towards the back, it's not gonna touch the front, and opposite if I touch the front. So I want to, of course, start from the front. From there, I'm just going to follow wherever that brings me. And I'm just going to use some tension. And basically stop where I saw that it wouldn't touch anymore. So here, after, I'm just going to follow the head shape. So take a little step to the left and now go up from there. And already see the kind of increase I would get if I didn't follow the head shape. So here as well, from that point I want to go slightly higher. So already remove this slight increase, because as you know, something that's round is not created by curving your fingers, but it's created by tiny flat sections combined together. So this is why we want to do it slowly. Again, from there, I take a step, follow the head shape. So last piece, flat. This is also why we created this mapping section, because if you went far back, we would have to change the angle. So we just know we're going to end on a flat surface. So I'm here, comb touching the head and just going up. Again, if you look at where I'm looking, it's just at the roots. So here I'm just worried that the travel is good, and then I just switch to my fingers when I know that's good. I'm just gonna check the other pieces. I'm not checking straight up because this is not where I cut it. I do check following the head shape as well. I just place my comb to the head and just, I don't know if you can see that. So I want to see a flat shape from there as well. And of course the center. So this is especially helpful when you keep going, because when you're here, for example, checking the front, you're gonna be there and up. So you need to cross-check very well. But the way that you know you're doing it right, you just move far from where you think that is. So see, the further I go, the worse it looks. As I move closer to where I cut it, at some point, this is just like the focus on the camera. So when you're out of focus, this is how it looks, and it only looks focused when you go to the right spot. So this is how you can also think of that. So section 1 is done. Same thing, so now I'm gonna check if the width is fine. So remember, you wanna have like 50% of guideline and 50% of new hair every time you cut. If you have too much of a guideline, you're gonna risk recutting the guideline. And if you have too little guideline, you don't know actually what you're following. So this is why it needs to be the same amount. So if you look here, you see exactly that, the same amount is already cut and to be cut. So I'm just gonna start from the front again. So also the reason why, I'm sure you were asking yourself, so I'm going to answer. The reason why we're standing here is because since we're right-handed, we're trying to follow that flow of movement. This is the easiest spot to be when you do that. If I was here, it would be much harder to control that. And I would probably end up just out of comfort, lifting everything up and not creating, not following the head shape anymore. From here, what we want to achieve is this flat shape going that way while following the head shape. So how do we do that? It's the same idea as how you would create something that's flat horizontally, so what we did yesterday with the top. So the way that you achieve that is by pulling the hair towards the ceiling and not, definitely not towards yourself. From here, you want to come towards the center. So if anything, you're pushing too much and you're getting longer. So, every time we want to avoid making the mistake that can bring us closer to making the hair too short, because otherwise, we don't have a way of fixing that. I want to follow the same head shape, and I want to see that my roots are going straight up. Of course, it's not going to look straight up here, so I need to imagine the ceiling that way. But, other than the ceiling, I want to see that the roots are nice and straight. So I'm going to go very slow, so you can see how it looks. And before I move on, I'm just going to check if this piece is fine, so I know that I can keep going or not. A flat piece, so that's fine. After that, I can just move on the same way. Remember, I want to keep everything clean like that. So every time I'm moving the back away, and I'm going to keep going. So again, slowly going up. So remove any kind of inconsistency. You see that you create increases in length like every tiny section that you create, so you want to go back and clean before you move on, otherwise it becomes hard to follow. So again, so now I have a clearer vision of what I have to do, but I keep everything away as always. So from there, straight up. And when when I go back I can see if that's looking good. So here, same thing, the hairline is dropping very fast. So remember, don't follow that. Just worried about making it look as straight as possible from here. So even if you take less hair from the front, it's fine, as long as you're not dropping your section. So, same. Mio. Your testa dritta, per favore.
So, did the thing there and then starting to go that way, yeah?
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay. Grazie.
Prego.
Did you say for me to take my walk? Never ever thought a haircut before that this is about life.
From there, you place your comb flat to the head, put your fingers in, and just see it, and go up as the comb tells you to. So you would start from there.
Right, okay. So yeah, obviously finished the course in November time. I actually went and worked in Dunbar following that for about a period of 2-3 months, and then got back in touch with Eakin about potential opportunity for work. And with the pole workshop opening, I had a couple of chats with Ryan, got to know him a bit better and stuff, and understand how we are, how we would work together and what the plan was really. And then yeah, been here ever since. And then now obviously got the opportunity to do further learning with Riccardo. So I got recommended in off one of my mates in the Dunbar area through one of the boys there, and then done the course, loved it.
Do you reckon I'm going pulling it too much
So
that way?
if you went here,
Okay.
so it looks clean if you go to the center,
Yeah.
but then what you want is to go straight up.
I started my beginner course at Brazen Men's Hair Academy in September. 12-week course. Pretty hard. Started not knowing how to pick up a pair of scissors or nothing.
Did you end up?
And then
This section into
got a job at Brazen Men's Hair. Started cutting real clients fairly recently. Came with struggles. Now I'm here doing a more advanced course, which is absolutely solid. Been a great experience. Loving every minute of cutting hair. What are you laughing at? That's the truth. This has actually been my most favourite job I've had. I'm not being able to concentrate this long. Like I can concentrate for more than 10 minutes, but I can actually sit here and concentrate. and it's class.
That's like the full shebang.
It slipped out when I was trying to get that out.
Ricardo, come on, man. Okay, thank you.
It's very good, you know.
You,
So today we're taking the boys at Brazen through what we teach during the beginner courses. This is to show that, you know, everyone at any skill level still can benefit by practice and by understanding and, you know, getting deep into the learning process. So we are recreating all the shapes from the beginner courses with the boys as well that have different levels of experience, and each one of them is going to be able to take what they need for the improvement of their future career as well.